What's up everybody, Unrested back here again, and today is the final and last part of a long series of History of Unrested. I apologize for having waited so long to make this, but I think when you hear this story you'll kind of realize why I did, why it's a little bit hard for me to talk about, because it was a situation that it upset me pretty good. The final part of this. I mean, mind you, obviously I end on a happy note for myself here in Japan because I live a pretty fun, successful, happy everyday life. Even when you see videos of me getting mad at politicians shouting outside of my apartment at 8 p.m., for the most part, that is something out of the ordinary and is merely a fraction of my life put on the internet. So please always realize that when you watch these videos, you are judging me on a fraction of my life. I have no 24-hour videos that show how I act throughout the day. So as much as you do see of me, and there's about 600 videos of me on my channel, you still don't know me until you meet me in person, which you can do anytime here in Japan. If you're going to come to our Hanami party on April 11th, 2015, Osaka Jokoen, be there or be square. Anyway, let's get into it. So this concerns kind of a relationship that I had with a friend from the day that I got to Japan almost up until very recently. It ends the story with kind of how I had a falling out with this friend. And it's kind of an epic story that went through the entire series of History of Unrested. And if you haven't watched those others, you may want to, just to kind of understand the references I make while I talk about this, because I can't go back and talk about the stories that give us time marks or time stamps, because otherwise this would become hours and hours long. It is a friend who is now no longer a friend, and I wouldn't even say an acquaintance, someone I don't even speak to anymore because of what kind of falling out we had. But it does play a part of the history of my life here in Japan because there were many choices that I made, pathways that my life took because of interactions with this person, whether they are connected to, affected by, or indifferent to, nonetheless. Okay, so, and also let me just say, in the middle of this video I may have to move. There's a political truck like 2 blocks down from me here that's shouting. And if it comes down here and decides to start the rhetoric down here as well, then it's going to be so loud I won't be able to record my voice. In which case I may have to split the video up, and I may have to go yell at a politician. Okay, so let's get into it. This starts all the way back at Nova, the very beginning of my story, where my very first job was at Nova, and this is where I met this friend. We worked the same night shift, and we had kind of a bond through both being one of the few people there who were tattooed, and not just tattooed like one little mark tattoo, like heavily tattooed, him more so than me. We shared a connection through liked movies, music, metal, horror, comic books, video games, just a little bit of everything in media. We had a lot of the same interests, so very easy to connect there. And as Nova started to fall apart, we were 2 of the teachers who actually survived staying in Japan. To this day, and this may be incorrect, but I believe he is the only other teacher who lasted as long as me up to this point. We came here with 40 teachers, and him and I were the only 2 left, and soon it will only be me left, as you'll find with the end of the story. And the reason is a long story, so let's just get back to the beginning again. And we survived the fallout of Nova, so we kind of bonded over that. He took a job at an ALT job. I took a job at an international kindergarten. You know, we had discussions about how Nova had fallen apart and laughed about that, about some of the hardships we had gone through there. Because, you know, hardships always bring people closer together. Bonded over that, laughed about some of the goofy people we worked with there because there were some funny characters. And I guess some of the things that sucked about the job too, because there's definitely many parts of Nova that sucked. Nova is still around now, yes. People have said to me, Scott, that's not true, they're not bankrupt. I see they still exist. There's chapter 13 and there's chapter 11. They declared chapter 11 They were taken over by another company called GCOM. Yes, they still exist, but they did go bankrupt. And a lot of people didn't get paid. Luckily, both of us got out of there before that happened. Nonetheless, like I said, this hardship brought us closer together. And we were friends. Friends so much so that probably I would say almost every weekend we went out drinking together, you know, just tearing up the town, looking for clubs, meeting girls, going on double dates, stuff like that. You know, general things two guy friends do when they're single. Bond on that level. And meanwhile, talking about new metal music, horror movies, and just opinions on movies in general. I think that's one way we really connected is we both watched a ton of movies, a ton of TV shows, just like a ton of media. Any free chance we had, we were watching stuff all the time. And that was something that we could easily always connect on. And it's something you think about in your own country, like, well, big deal, I can always find a friend to talk to stuff about that. Well, in Japan, finding a friend, and then finding a friend who speaks the same language, and then finding a friend who speaks the same language and has the same interests are three very hard things to actually match up when you're here as a gaijin. It can be a lonely aspect of living here. So that took a little bit of the loneliness away. So things started out pretty good. There was a pretty solid friendship between us, and no cracks formed in that friendship until way later, where one day I was pretty thoroughly betrayed. And this only happened back in 2014 that I was like really betrayed, where we had like a major falling out, and it pretty much ended our friendship. And when that happened, it really made me go back, as I think probably most people do this, and analyze the entire friendship, beat for beat, step for step, all the way through, and think about other times that little fractures had formed in it and little hiccups I had seen in the past that maybe I had been able to easily overlook because they weren't such a big deal, or that I treasured the friendship more than what I thought was a, you know, not really anything more than a just very small coincidence or betrayal that, you know, didn't affect my life in a big way. I think that happens to a lot of people when they suddenly find a big betrayal in their life, when someone turns on them in a way where they totally didn't see it coming. Then they stop, you know, the needle comes off the record, there's a, and then they like slow motion rewind all the way through that friendship to be like, when have things been sketchy in the past? And that's kind of what I'm going through now. So the first event really happened was when this friend and I were on a double date one time, and I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, the date that I had brought along didn't seem to be very interested in talking to me anymore. And I thought it was easily something I could have done. I mean, let's be honest, you know, I'm not always the smoothest guy on every date I ever go on. I'm not going to say I'm any sort of ladies' man or anything like that. I do the best I can, but you know, sometimes I slip up, I say the wrong thing, I'm inconsiderate, you know, normal guy stuff. I chalked it up to that. But nonetheless, I did kind of want to answer from this girl before she left. You know, we weren't in too deep. I wasn't like, you know, super intimate or in love with this girl. So I was just kind of like, you know, sorry things didn't work out tonight. You know, what was it that kind of messed things up? Like, is there something I did? I mean, can you just let me know, just so, you know, in the past I can, you know, be a little more introspective and perhaps take in people's feelings better? And she was like, well, it's not really something you did, but when you went to the bathroom, your friend told me about how you're seeing a bunch of other girls while you're with me. And I was just like, what? Like, at first I thought she was just screwing with me, like joking or pulling my leg or something. I was just like, come on, no, really, what was it? And like, she's like, no, that's what he told me. He told me about how you're seeing other girls and that I'm not your only girlfriend and stuff. And I was just like, what? Okay, first of all, that wasn't true, okay? Second of all, for somebody to do something like that while you're in the bathroom, whether it's true or not, is malicious. It's just, let's be honest, guys, it's malicious, right? Now, I can see if that person is like a close friend, which she was not at this time for either of us, if they wanted to protect the feelings of that person. And if that was true, I could definitely understand where a person would do that. But first of all, once again, it was not true. I wasn't seeing anyone else at the time. In fact, I didn't really care to see multiple people at the time. I wasn't really in a situation where I had enough free time to even do such a thing, is the big thing. I wasn't interested in dating multiple girls. I wasn't even in like a phase where, you know, you like see different people and just go on, you know, one date at a time and move on to the next person, just to kind of play the field. girls and guys, you both do it, okay? I'm not talking anything about being some straight player, got some mad game or something like that. This was just that situation, and so I was just like, really? But I thought, you know what? Okay, I wasn't in deep with this girl, wasn't in love with her, and my friend broke up with the girl that he was seeing too for a while, that was going on the double dates, so the whole connection with those two girls faded away anyway, so I didn't think much more about it anymore. But I remember having trouble going to sleep that night because I kept thinking about that, like, damn, did he really do that? I didn't confront him about it, but in my mind I kept thinking, damn, did he really do that? Did he really, like, when I went to the bathroom, like, so, then later, how do I get into this next part and explain it fully? I guess I have to show kind of the evolution of where both of our lives were going at the time. And that was, we were very interested in getting out of teaching, let's put it that way. For sure, we were very interested in getting out of teaching because, as you know, #1 job in Japan, you come here as a gaijin and you teach English. And you get sick of it after you've been here. I think we had already been here like six years doing it. You start to get pretty sick of it. You start to look at other options. And we had talked about other stuff in the past. We had made up things like maybe starting a t-shirt company in Japan or some other things. Nothing had really come to fruition. And it wasn't either one of our faults. It was just kind of us never really taking more action on the plan. But one thing we really kind of got active about was we really wanted to start learning how to tattoo in Japan. We had a mutual friend. He's very successful now. He's made a great business for himself. He's an amazing artist, makes my art look like crap in comparison. The guy's just an incredible artist. And I guess that mutual friend kind of inspired us in a way. Like, we looked up to him like, damn, this guy's got, a raging business with his tattooing and everything. And he's really, honed his skill on this art. And we were both interested in art at the time. I wasn't, I'm an art major in school. I do art now as a job. I'm an illustrator professionally. So I did take the path of art eventually to get out of teaching. Although I do still teach on the side, so I guess I never really got out of teaching, did I? And I teach private lessons too on the side. Well, I never really did get out of teaching. And so tattooing was what we thought about getting into. And around this time, I was getting married too. And just to give you an idea how close of friends we were at the time, this guy came and was I guess you would say, like, the host or the announcer at my wedding. That's how close of friends we were. Like, because his Japanese was so good at the time, and it's much better than mine by far. He could do both the Japanese and the English announcements there. And so, and I went to his wedding too. He got married too. And I went to his. So we were both, that's closeness, man. When I have people come to my wedding or I go to theirs, that's closeness in weddings. Friendship, not weddings. And during this time I got married first, and money was tight for me because I was having my first kid. So he got his tattoo kit first to start practicing tattooing, got into it, started to train with a couple artists, just going out to their shops and stuff and getting some pointers and stuff like that. I didn't get mine till a little bit later. Meanwhile, he was sending me some pictures of what he had been developing as a skill and stuff like that. And it was pretty decent. I can't, I'm not gonna, no matter what kind of falling out I have with anyone, I'm not gonna deny someone's skill. He was doing pretty decent tattoos. And what he was sending them to me for was to show how his talent was progressing. And at the same time, I was sending him back information like, this looks awesome, I really like what you did with this and this. And also because, as anyone who's actually dipped into tattooing for a little bit knows, like, the first couple tattoos you do are usually on yourself, and they suck. They're really bad. Like, I don't think there's any tattoo artists out there who've done their very first tattoo and done like a flawless, awesome, amazing tattoo that they're super happy with on themselves. That's pretty standard. You got to tattoo yourself to get a feel for how hard you're pressing, how slow to draw your lines and stuff like that with the line parts, with the shading parts and everything like that. There's a lot that goes into it. But to make a long story short, he was showing me his stuff, sending me pictures, SMS, so I could see a progression. And so finally it got to a point where I got my machine too, and my inks and everything too. I really waited quite a while. I waited a while before I got a really good machine, and I waited a while before I got really good inks too, because I had looked into it a little bit, studied up, and I knew that there was like crap inks, and there was inks that would like fade into your skin really fast and stuff like that. So I made sure I got kind of like the best of everything, because I knew, number one, when I was gonna have to tattoo myself first, I didn't want these coming out looking like total crap, because they already were, because I had no talent built up yet with tattooing. So at least the ink wouldn't fade, you know, if I got at least good quality stuff. So I had a person who actually watched my videos in Okinawa, good friend now. He was a tattoo artist in Okinawa and was moving to Osaka and switching jobs, and wanted to sell out all his equipment. And we made a trade. He actually traded me for some items, actually an LCD TV and a bike. And I got an awesome set, and it had been pretty much almost everything I'd ever wanted, even including disposable needles, tons of disposable tubes. Well, I guess every needle's disposable. Just tons of disposable stuff, so that before I had my autoclave, which is the sterilization machine, I could throw away the stuff that I had used. But then I eventually got an autoclave too, because I actually have access to those machines. And so I had the whole kit, I had everything put together now, and I started, and I got my first couple done. Of course, they suck too. And I think it was around my second one, I sent him a picture of mine, and I expected to get kind of the same feedback. Like, of course, he could critique it and stuff and be like, okay, here's where you need to tone up this edge and stuff like this, or, here's where you could get better with this technique, and this is what I'm doing right now. I was all ready for that. I've been through art school, I'm ready for a critique, even if it is a harsh critique. Instead, I get a message that just says, "You're a tool." And I was just like, whoa, what's going on here? So I just sent a question mark back. I remember specifically on this SMS, which went down. Sent a question mark back, kind of like, what's going on? Like, is this for real, or is this playing with me? Is this a joke? Because right away I'm ready to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're just pulling my leg or something. And I'm up for a good joshing or something like that. You want to kid around with me. I'm not like some sensitive snowflake who's going to boo-hoo-hoo over a little, rough joke. And so I send a question mark back, and then he sends me another message, and it says something like, not just any faggot can do tattooing, like, you need to train under the best to like get as good as me and shit like that. It was something ridiculous. Like, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, really? Is this like for serious? So I didn't message anything back at all. Like, I was just like, well, fuck, I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what the fuck to say. I mean, if he's not serious about this, it's not really that funny. If he is serious about this, it's not really that funny. In fact, it's pretty fucking offensive, because number one, we had talked about going into this together. We weren't necessarily going to start a shop or anything together or go into business together or anything like that. There's no plan like that. But I was amped on him getting started on it, and from what I had thought from him in the past, he was amped on me getting started on it. We'd already done a lot of different things together, studied things together, gotten into things together like that. This had just been another one of those things. So less to say, a few weeks later on his Facebook, he's updating with things like, yo, what was it? Some people are all ass hurt over advice that I gave them recently. They just need to man up and know that that's true advice. And then at the same time he wrote that message on the board, he sent me a message, hey, let's meet up, we should hang out sometime. So I was just like, okay, I guess we're just totally ignoring that kind of SMS exchange that we had there, where, he sent a pretty obvious insult to me. So I thought, you know what, maybe this is going to go ahead and explain what went down. Maybe there's some part of this, some aspect of this I don't understand, or there was some joke that I wasn't getting, because oftentimes with text, sarcasm is lost. And, I'm up for that. I'm up for that explanation. That's cool. So we meet up and stuff, and of course one of the first things I asked him, just like, dude, what's up with that message and everything? And he's all like, oh yeah, that message, yeah, someone actually grabbed my phone and typed that message in because they were really angry at you at the time for you learning to tattoo. They didn't want to have to compete with you. And I was just kind of like, what? Like, what the fuck? Like, you're really gonna tell me that? Like, I'm like, oh, so you're serious? Like, it's not you, it was somebody else took your phone and typed that message in and sent it to me? He's like, yeah, really sorry about that, because I could tell you were angry because you didn't answer back. And okay, so number one, if someone did do that to my phone, pick it up and send an insulting message to a friend, I would immediately take that phone either number one, send a message back that said, this is not me sending that message, I'm sorry, a friend picked up my phone and sent you this nasty message. Or number two, I would call and be like, hey dude, did you just get that message? Yeah, that fucking wasn't me, I'm sorry about that shit. This dude's being a dickhead and grabbing my phone and using it. I mean, if you're friends, once you do that, I mean, am I out of line to think such a thing? Is that too much to ask? If I was worried about the friendship, right? So, next thing I let slide, I was like, all right, I guess this is his way of saying sorry. I'm gonna let that slide, which really I shouldn't have it. I actually, at the first time that I was betrayed, I should have said, so long, see ya. But like I said, it's hard to find people in Japan where you can connect on the same level. So, up to the most recent event of what happened, which really led to the falling out. This is gonna bring us up to 2014, 2015, present day. I am sent a message by him again and asking me for some help with starting a business, which he's started many businesses in the past. None have really done very good. He had like some kind of figure company or something like that, but he had a new idea for doing tourism in Japan, which I actually thought it was a pretty decent idea. He was going to do some tours for gaijin coming to Japan, kind of show them the more edgier parts of Japan, kind of the underground scene and stuff like that, tattoos, clubs, bars, punk bars, etc., etc. And number one, he wanted my help because I knew about that stuff already due to the fact that I had been into that whole lifestyle before I was married, you know, checking out those clubs and everything like that. I knew that kind of scene, not as well as him, but somewhat. I still knew the area well enough that I could take people around to different stuff. I spoke enough Japanese, and most importantly, I had my Unrested channel, which you are watching right now if you're seeing this video. And that was a great way in which we could market this. He said, you know, I just want to be a silent partner on that aspect of it. I would appreciate if you could help do the marketing on there, you know, get the advertisement for it out there, and talk about it on there, and maybe possibly get some people signing up for our website to go and do this, and then together, you know, we'll do the tours together, we'll split what we get, or maybe a certain percentage one way or another, I don't know exactly because it never panned out. But I was cut into some part of the deal as far as, you know, doing the tours and getting money. And it sounded pretty lucrative too, if it had worked out. So I'm like, yeah, this actually seems like a pretty legit idea. I'm down with that. So I did a video. I believe it is even still up. And I promoted it. I thought it was a good idea. I thought it was legit. And I was down to do that too. I was down to work that kind of job. That sounded fun, actually, to be quite honest. Definitely enjoyable work. So maybe a month later, maybe even less, maybe like 3 weeks or 4 weeks later, a month, I have kind of my own little campaign. And my own little campaign was a GoFundMe. It was an executive office, still doing artwork for it now, still sending out pictures now, still not finished now. But nonetheless, it went really well. But I put up the post for it on Facebook. I put up a post for it on GoFundMe, of course. And I remember I had to have a friend do the GoFundMe from America because it wasn't working with my Japanese bank account. You run into a lot of problems with like YouTube, PayPal, and all different types of crap with that. So it was going to run through him, and then he was just going to send the money to me when I got it. And so what I did was I set that up. Well, I had him set that up for me. We agreed upon how the plan would work for it, and I agreed upon how much artwork I'd be doing for people, which, like I said, I'm still doing it. I've got so many different people giving money, and I actually went way past my goal, so I had even more pictures than I expected I'd have to draw, so I'm still drawing to this day, almost. I mean, we're getting close, not a year later, but it's like 9 months, so close. 3 more months, it'll be a year. As soon as the post goes up, like I'm talking like minutes after that post goes up, the GoFundMe and the Facebook one, because I featured it on both, my friend who put it up starts messaging me and says, you know, and this isn't the same friend, this is a person actually on the Unrest team, who's part of my personal Unrest team. He's like, hey, dude, I don't know what's going on, but this one guy seems really angry about your GoFundMe. Like, he seems really angry about your posts. Do you want to, like, you know, figure this out, talk this out, see what's going on with this person? So I'm like, who would be so angry about this? Like, who would get so utterly, because I was asking for a very small, like $900. I actually ended up getting 1,300, but all I asked for was $900. And it was to rent what's called a very small executive office. It's a small mansion-sized room. By mansion, I mean one room that has a desk, 4 chairs, a phone, and a LAN connection cable. So you can come there, pretty much do client meetings and do business in peace. And you rent it out with multiple people. And it's pretty much just to do the client stuff for my Unrested studios. And I checked the messages. I'm just like, who could be this angry that I set this up? Who could be this angry about this? And it's him. It's this friend. This guy who's sent these angry tattoo messages before in the past, who's told girls in the past that I'm dating that I'm seeing multiple girls at the same time, which I wish I was that kind of player, but I never could be. It's really angry. Like, it's like, how dare you put these messages up that you're going to give people art jobs in Japan and visas to Japan. And I was just like, whoa, visas to Japan. So I went back, I watched my video again. I was like, does my promotion video say like I'm going to give people a visa to work in Japan? Because I was like, that's fucking crazy bullshit if I said that. But, you know, whatever. I've made videos in the past. People have called me out and been like, why did you say this? I go back and look and I'm like, holy shit, like I'm just fucking rambling. I checked now. I've never talked about visas. I've never talked about like setting people up with a flight over here, get an apartment, because like the donations are like $1, $5, like $25. Nobody in their right mind believes that they're going to pay $1 to a donation on a GoFundMe and end up with a visa, an apartment, a job in Japan, all this stuff. And that's what he was angry about. He somehow thought that that's what I was alluding to in this video, that I was going to set people up with all sorts. I was going to start my own huge corporation and hire all these artists from all around the world, which if anybody's seen my studio and my apartment and seen my executive office in other videos, know that they're just like 2 tiny rooms that would fit like me and maybe another artist, and that's about it. And I have hired other artists at the same time. I did have a huge overflow of work after I got that. And I've spilled it off to a couple other artists here. So I guess in a sense I have given some jobs to people here. But he was furious about this, that I was setting up this GoFundMe. He started spamming angry messages all over the GoFundMe, all over the Facebook. So of course right away I go back, I delete them. And instead of attacking him back on those sites, as I don't feel it's in good taste to publicly attack a personal friend, I private messaged him. And I remember specifically the only message I sent was, really? Like, really? Because in my mind, here's what I'm thinking, okay? And you know, please correct me in the comments below. Tell me if there's some other way you could have thought that I could have looked at this, but I just promoted this guy's business. He had asked me to, you know, it could help him be successful if I push ads on my site, if I push ads on my, you know, Unrested with, I think I had like something like 20,000 subscribers at the time. No, 16,000 actually, I believe. It wasn't until after Julian Blank that I suddenly had a ton of people join. And this was a pretty good, you know, step off point. It could get the message out to a lot of people. So I thought I'd promote yours. I didn't expect him to promote my GoFundMe back, but I didn't expect him to attack it either. I just thought, you know, if I help you with your thing, if I promote my own thing, I don't see why you would bother it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like in bad business taste, you know, you have a business partner who helps promote your business, and then they have their own little side business that they promote, and you attack it. Would you stay business partners with someone who would do that? Well, I wouldn't. And so right away I was like, wow, really? You're gonna do this? Like, I just promoted yours and you're gonna attack mine. You know, I just promoted your tourist company and you're gonna attack my GoFundMe. And I don't know where he was going with this idea, but he was like, you should do something different instead, like make a book for Osoroshi Saturday. And I'm like, you know, that's a pretty good idea. That's not what I had in mind right now. That's good for maybe a future project. But if that's really what you thought, you can suggest that without attacking my GoFundMe or without attacking my Facebook or privately messaging me about that. And it's funny because even after that, he even said like, oh, I guess maybe I should have private messaged you first, but you know, I just thought what you were typing up there was wrong and you're giving people the wrong message to help you out with your company. And I was just like, okay, well, once again, you could have private messaged me, not, you know. So I'd had it. That was fucking it. That cut the fucking cord right there. I was just like, how fucking dare you, right? I just finished promoting your shit, and as soon as I have something of my own to promote, which I don't ask you to help me with, you attack it instead. Made a video right away after that, letting everybody know I was disconnected from that company. I would not be promoting his site. I was not connected to his tourism. And I'm making this because I don't want Unrested channel connected to anybody who would do such a thing to people, attack any kind of a GoFundMe, whether they agreed with it or not. You know, I don't want to be part of a business that would do such a thing. That's very poor business practice, no matter what your beliefs are of people's, you know, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, you know, whatever the different stuff is, Indiegogo. To be a business or an entity that would go out around attacking stuff like that it's not good in business practice in general. So this made him furious. He sent me all sorts of messages like, take that video down. If you don't take that video down, I'm going to show up to your house and we're going to have words. So he's threatening like to come to my house, to like cause a scene at my apartment, you know, possibly get into some sort of like confrontation out in front of my apartment. Of course, you know, all the while, I keep a baseball bat right next to my door. If someone's gonna try and come to my door, first thing I see is you on camera. I record you with my camera because that's what you can do with mine. It has an SD card in it. It's recording the whole time the second I hit record on it. I'll give you a chance to leave because I'll say I'll call the cops. If you don't want to leave after that, I commence with the bat. But the threats continue. He's sending me messages on Skype. I'm blocking him on everything because honestly, the thing I've heard before too, and I've been in the YouTube business a while now, 7 years. You get threats, like actual personal threats, where people are saying they're going to come to your house. You don't answer them. You block them. You block and delete them. Little advice for any of you guys who ever start a channel like that and get those kind of threats. You block and delete them. You don't answer them. That's what I did. Just block, delete, block, delete, block, delete. And then I'm blocking him on everything. And that's it. I don't hear from him for a while. He never does show up to my house or anything like that. I think one time he tried to record video of him walking past my house and send it on Skype or something like that, but the video was so dark I really couldn't even figure out what the hell it was. Anyway, nothing ever happens. And I don't hear from him for a long time. We've had a total falling out, total disconnection. We still have some mutual friends, of course, so I hear about him a little bit from these mutual friends, but not really anything of any significance at all. And I don't ask about him either because I really don't fucking care at this point. Then at one point, I messaged a friend. Oh, because I remember why I messaged my friend. It was the mutual friend at the time. Because my video got on NHK. I got a YouTube video on NHK. I was really proud of that. I said, hey, watch NHK today. My video's on there. I hadn't talked to this mutual friend for a while. And out of nowhere, when I messaged him from that, he said, hey man, I got a question for you. Have you seen blah blah? And like blah blah, I mean that friend's name. I'm not gonna throw it out here on the camera. I still have enough respect to do that. I'm not gonna try and slander anybody. He's like, have you seen him? And I'm like, what do you mean, like, seen him? Like, I'm like, sorry, we had kind of a falling out a while back, so I haven't really talked or anything to him. He's like, oh dude, he's missing, and like, his parents have come to Japan looking for him, and his wife can't find him, and nobody has seen him, like, for like a month. And I was like, holy shit. So I'm like, dude, well, what do you know, we had a falling out, but I don't want to see anybody injured, hurt, dead, anything like that, anything bad, anything super negative like that. I would still like to see everybody keep their health. And I was like, do you want me to like put out a video or something, or a 411, or just like kind of like give a shout out to let people know that this guy's gone missing for a month? And he's like, all right, let me check in with his parents and see what they want to do. And then I'll get back with you and I'll see like what we should do about that. Maybe we should get the word out or something. And so by the end of the day, I don't hear anything, and I'm just kind of like, damn, what should I do? Should I like, you know, put out the word? And he messages me back. He's like, dude, don't worry about it because he's been found. And this is kind of crazy, but he's in trouble. And I was like what? Like, what do you mean? He's like, well, kind of like legal trouble. And I was like, so he's just in a little bit of legal trouble? He's like, okay, let me correct that. He's like, he's in a lot of legal trouble. So what I failed to mention, I should have said this too, I should have used this to build up the story, is a couple times in between that falling out that we had when I had seen him around town. We had just randomly met up a couple times just because we had to traverse the same areas as far as like different bars we liked and stuff like that. And I had one night where actually a friend you guys may have seen on camera before, his name's Cajun Gaijin. We had a going out, sayonara party, if you will, because he was leaving Japan. And that night when we were out, we ran into him, this friend, and he was all messed up on some sort of drug. It was pretty damn obvious. Most of the Japanese friends he were with were like, dang, he's really drunk tonight. It's crazy how drunk he is, because they just didn't understand. They didn't have, like, I guess, a lot of experience with how drugs make people act. Drugs. Swaying back and forth, like moving like that, like sweat pouring down his face, like pupils mega tiny. I don't know what drug that is that does that. I'm not sure. So anyway, I personally just thought, well, wow, he's having a crazy night out, like, and that's pretty insane that he's trying drugs out here in Japan. Just a little bit of advice: drugs in Japan, bad idea. You get in huge trouble, even for small tiny drugs, even things that you would consider soft drugs, or even things like marijuana. You're gonna go to jail. You're gonna get deported. You're gonna get in a ton of trouble. So just my advice: never I've never ever messed with drugs in Japan. I never will mess with drugs in Japan. I don't advise it to anybody. So I didn't think about it that much though. I mean, I just thought, like, maybe he's having one crazy night out. That's it. Like, but apparently he had been like this for a while. I started to hear reports from friends after that like they had seen him out like that a bunch, and they were always reporting to me like, have you seen how insanely drunk he is recently? He's like super drunk when he goes out. And what I didn't realize is, like, the Japanese people who had seen him like this just didn't realize, like, drugs would put you in this state. They just thought, like, wow, this is some crazy, like, drinking state that he's in. Which it's just a matter of innocence. They're just innocent, that's all. They're not ignorant or anything like that. It's more innocence, it's bliss. So apparently a little bit after that, like probably like a month or so after that, and up until recently, I didn't find out. And I've heard multiple conflicting stories and stuff like this, but alls I've come to fully understand it has something to do with drugs. He got arrested because of drugs. I don't know if he was caught doing drugs, caught with drugs, caught dealing drugs. I have no confirmation on any of that. It's connection to drugs that got him in trouble legally. And the last update I heard from one mutual friend said that, like, he was trying to head back to his home country, but was literally stuck in Japan because he has to finish his court trials and stuff like that. I guess I don't know exactly how the whole legal system. I've never been in trouble legally in Japan, aside from some scraps I've had with some pretty, what would you say, pretty sketchy English schools. That's about the only scraps I've had, and that wasn't me doing anything illegal. That was them doing something illegal and me having to hire a lawyer to get my paycheck and stuff like that. So I've never had to delve into where I put myself into some sort of legally bad situation. Anyway, so this is what he had done. I don't know how he got this deep into this, and I don't know why he took this path or what made him ever want to get into that scene. I guess the moral of the story here is the first time you're betrayed, shame on them, but the second time, shame on you if you continue the friendship after that. You should be able to forgive somebody, but you shouldn't continue to allow yourself to be tricked or deceived or things maliciously done to you. And that's something I let happen. Quite honestly, I can't place all the blame on him. I have to place some of the blame on myself. I had seen signs in the past. I think really, though, that's what made this story so hard to talk about, so hard to tell. Hold on one second while I just fix my battery here. It's starting to peace out. My battery is. Not me. I'm not piecing out yet. That's why this story was so hard for me to tell. This is why it was kind of hard, because it was a long-term friendship. We had so many memories together with this guy, hanging out, way before when we first got to Japan, when we were single dudes. Before either one of us got married. I don't know where his life is now. I don't know how he's getting back to his own country. I don't know how his trials are going to go, if he's going to end up in jail in Japan, end up in jail back in his home country, wherever, however the law works, I don't know. I still wish him the best of luck. Would I ever be friends with him again? Would I ever trust him again? Probably not. That trust is pretty well broken. You know, I might have a beer with the guy, but I wouldn't believe a word coming out of his mouth at this point. Yeah, I mean, but it's a sad thing though, right? When you see things end like that, and it's kind of a shock to your system too when friendships end like that. You know, you want to. Sometimes there's some friendships you have, you really want to see them survive. You really want to see them through. You want to try and get over, you know, any of the big obstacles, rocks, hills, and valleys and stuff like that. But there's times where you just gotta let go, or you gotta cut it off, where you gotta say it's actually detrimental to you to continue this. It can actually affect your life in negative ways. And that's one thing that I saw too. If I had stayed connected to this guy, who knows what might have happened, right? Would I have ended up in some sort of legal trouble too? I don't know. I'm really glad I'm not. Would I have been connected to some sort of crazy stuff that was going on in his life? I don't know. I'm really glad I'm not. Nonetheless, like I said, wish him the best. Hope things work out. You know, but that pretty much ends our story, because that last update was just recently, actually, here 2015, just last month, and that pretty much finishes off the end of my entire history of Unrested. Pretty much at this point, my life now is having my own illustration company, Unrested Studios. I do RPG artwork for companies in the UK, Australia. Mostly those are my biggest clients. You guys love your RPGs, and I love you for loving your RPGs. I have a couple Japanese clients now, because I've been taking my private lessons for a while now. I can actually speak some business Japanese, some keigo, and actually be polite and get Japanese clients. I've had 2 so far, all 2, as compared to my like hundreds of Australian and UK ones. I still teach English on the side. I still teach a little bit of kindergarten English on the side. I teach private lessons on the side. Never give that up. One day may even start my own English company, just because of the money English makes, man. With the 2020 Olympics coming too, it's just gonna blow up even more. That being said, I guess just let my story be a lesson to any of you. Number one, that you can easily make it in Japan, because Jesus Christ, if I made it in Japan, you can make it in Japan. I'm no sort of winner that comes with any extra skill than any of you watching this channel right now. You have all the power within you, all the skill within you, all the ability within you to get here, to thrive here, to survive here. Yeah, there'll be a few humps, a few obstacles, a few bumps in the road. There'll be some stuff you need to get over, or either assimilate to, or come to understand, or learn the ways of, but you will. The human capability to adapt is incredible, and I think that's one thing Japan has really taught me. And it's also taught me that really anyone with just a little bit of inspiration and motivation can make it here. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this whole series. If you have any questions about anything that you feel I didn't cover well enough, feel free to place them in the comments below. If you like what you saw here today, please like, comment, and subscribe. I am Unrested.